What was that? Let me explain. A few months ago, I crashed a nice airplane. The motor pretty much was the only salvageable thing. So I pulled the motor out, tested it. And now I'm going to go into a little bit of detail here and show you exactly how I did this. Feel free to skip further to the end of the video if all you want to see is how this thing ran on the ground. I'll just tell you right now, it was awesome. But let me explain some details here. Here we go. All right, so I'm calling this Spider. It's got a zombie on him, which is very fitting. So I crashed an airplane earlier this summer. It was a beautiful Extreme Flight Yak. The 88 or 89-inch version had this DLE 55 in it. And all that was left salvageable, the motor, but from about here forward, the firewall just basically ripped the entire fuselage out. And I was literally able to grab the motor like that and just pull it out of the plane. Anyways, so I've had that motor, which was connected to the gas tank, smoke tank, all of the electronics. It was still connected to it. It's been sitting in my man cave floor all summer, and I've been contemplating what to do with it. I've always wanted something that could like pull itself across the ground and just, you know, something for fun. So over Christmas break, we don't have enough snow around here to do this activity, which is my snow biking activity. And we have just enough snow that I can't do that activity. So I had a whole week off work, and I was looking at that motor and I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'll show you a bunch of pictures here in a second, but this is the final product. The final step today was I found myself some 2-inch PVC. I held the ends of that PVC right next to that heater. I heated them up a bunch so I could bend them forward and kind of turn them into skis. This is the landing gear from my 50cc Yak. That landing gear is from a 100cc Hanger 9 Extra 300 that met its fate one day a couple summers ago. And so those landing gear were different lengths, which actually worked out perfect because the front end of it is taller than the back. It's kind of hard to tell there, but there's an angle, the back, it's sitting kind of like this. That's actually good because the whole thing is pretty nose heavy. All the weight is up here, and I was afraid it was going to pull itself over. So having the shorter landing gear in the back kind of sets it up like that to pull upwards a little bit. And also because of that, I was afraid it was going to pull itself over, so I gave myself an elevator, which after my first little test flight, I don't know if flight's the correct word. I don't know if we really needed that or not. I think the angle that I built it on, it works pretty good. But anyways, this is what we've got. I had the motor connected to the firewall, and I essentially just started building a box around it. Like, it was ended here. If we look in there close, you can see, well, maybe you can see kind of down in there behind that wire. You can see where some of the wood was broken off. I didn't really go to much effort to fix that. I just built a box around it, just big enough to hold the gas tanks and smoke tank. This is the Sullivan smoke system. I figured, what the heck, it's already all hooked up. I'm just leaving it. There's your smoke wire coming over to the exhaust. And yeah, there it is. Pretty simple. I put some pretty heavy duty servos on there. That's a Hi-Tech 5955. That's the precursor of the latest 7955. Pretty strong servo. I figured this thing's gonna be bouncing around on the ground, taking a little abuse, so why not put the mean servo in there? I had them laying around anyways. This one's a 5645, which is a good metal geared servo. It's not super fast, but it's also fairly strong. I did a post style connection on both the rudder and elevator. Seems to work pretty good. I had some random, what are those called? Robart is what those are. Robart hinges. They're not their smallest ones and they're not their biggest ones. I was gonna seal these cracks, you know, because of the speed this thing's gonna get. We're gonna get some vibrations and rip our surfaces off. Not. I built this sweet little cover that we just stick on there. You can just set it on there. Anyways, I was super skeptical about the whole thing. And honestly, I just started laughing as soon as we did our first test tonight. I can't wait to get it out in the sunlight, go find a better spot to test it out and actually learn how to drive it. It's kind of opposite, you know, driving RC cars or airplanes or whatever. I consider it more like a jet ski where you have to give it the gas to make it turn. And so it might take me a second to figure that out. I wanted to make it a pusher prop setup, but I couldn't figure out an easy way. So let's assume that this is a pusher prop setup. I couldn't figure out an easy way to connect the whole rudder system down here and have the motor and everything else up here. It just seemed complicated, so I did this instead, kind of just hoping it would work, and man, it worked like a champ. So coming up soon, I'm gonna try to make a cool video of this thing really screaming across the ground somewhere. Anyways, pretty pumped. This was fun. Glad it worked. Just remembered 2 other quick things I was gonna point out. I just went with a fairly simple way to connect the landing gear there. I did add this wire so the landing gear couldn't get pulled outward and bend the landing gear. I'm contemplating if I need to like just make this a solid rod or something so it also can't squish in as well in case it gets sliding sideways and hit something or whatever. I don't know that that's super necessary. So far it seemed to work pretty good. The other thing I wanted to show is I've never really messed with servo speed before in my controller, but in this situation I did. We take that out, that's your on-off switch, and I can mess with the rudder here. I slowed that servo down. That's literally as fast as it can go due to the programming in my remote. I slowed it down just because it's kind of a big, heavy servo, and it's gonna be bouncing around a little bit too. I didn't want it to kind of jerk that big rudder around and break off my post down there. So hopefully we can kind of keep it all together. So more testing to come, can't wait. Okay, that was a lot of talking and a lot of details. If you made it this far, thank you. There are links here to see this thing go where it's nothing but just driving around. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Thanks.